Namah Shri Shankarananda. Namah, salutation, namaste. Either we can say to the Master or to the Guru who is sitting inside, the embodiment of bliss and wisdom. Guru Padam Bhujjanmane, to the lotus feet of the Guru. Lotus feet of the Guru. Savilas Mahamoha Grahya Grasaik Karmani. We are addressing the great play of delusion that entangles the mind. At present, there is a very subtle delusion. We think that you are the student, I am the teacher. That too is a very subtle delusion. But we have to reach to that state once we get rid of the many other layers of the delusion. So all these delusion becomes the monster of delusion, like a crocodile that puts us into ignorance and suffering. I will attend the session, I will not attend the session. That is also a delusion. Are you there? Do you recognize? Do you experience that state? So you attend or you don't attend, both are same. I'm talking. So you see these thoughts, feeling, emotions, past impressions, situations, events outside, results into an incident with millions of permutations and combinations. And that permutation and combination creates a monster of delusion. I introduced the acronym SILENT tool, a practical tool with reference to I am and I know it, perhaps 2 weeks ago, so that you can evolve. I hope that you must have contemplated. So let us look at this silent acronym. S means the still, the restless mind, first through the body. You see the permutation and combination. Still, awareness of the body brings the stillness to the restless mind. But we use what we use. We use the body. How we apply or we use place, position, and posture, and being comfortable to experience sensation, comfort, and steadiness. Sensation, comfort, and steadiness. So here in our Mondays and Thursdays journey, we need to spend a lot of time. But here we just become aware, place, position, and posture. You are clear, being comfortable, expansion, experience of sensation, comfort, and steadiness. Check that. It's understanding. Awareness of the body brings the stillness to the restless mind, because in being comfortable we are changing the direction. Being comfortable is to change the direction of the mind. And then invite I, letter I. When the mind is within, means it has self-awareness. With that self-awareness, when I say invite, What you invite the real self. How? By reminding. How? By reminding. What is that reminding? I know that I am real self. I know that I am real self. Huh? Whether you say Sat Chitanand or you say pure consciousness or you say I am real self beyond the name and the form. Name and the form remains at the physical level or somewhat at the mental level also. So that is what simply you remember. And I'll tell you, I'll just talk about it, remembering part. Then we come to the let go. So when I know that I am the real self, when I know, when I know I am real self beyond name and the form, then whatever travels to mind, let go. That is the letter L, silent, S-I-L. Let go. So, what is basically let go of the worldly thoughts, attachments, and aversions? You observe experiences and letting them pass without clinging. Seekers learning. Realize that I am and I know it. I'm simply saying I am and I know it. So you remind yourself, I'm the real self or I'm the pure consciousness, then why the thought? Oh, let go. Embrace the present moment. You see that? What you do now? You embrace here, embrace the present moment means you are constantly aware of so called the real self. I can use the word deep inside is okay, or beyond the thoughts and your experiences. That too is okay. Now you can easily understand. So embrace E. And then the N word, nurture inner peace. Now we experience the peace. So when I experience the peace, let me nurture it. Let me nurture it. How? Question is how? You simply maintain awareness within. Maintain awareness within so that you experience peace coming from within. Coming from within. That is, that is the word letter N. And T. We have to teach the mind again and again during the day. Whatever, wherever the situation is, you prevent any event, situation to be converted into an incident. Means what? You are maintaining your awareness. Maintaining awareness or living in the present moment, you can use different language, but So it becomes a practice of meditation with contemplation and reflection. And we can take this anytime and anywhere. And you can open your eyes, live into that present moment. I remember long back, 1981-82. My first training in yoga, 3 months, 50 hours per week. It is not according to American standard. It is according to Indian standard. 50 hours per week means 200 hours per month, 600 hours, 3 months of training. Second training, 6 months, 1000 hours. 82 itself. Third, I spent almost a year before the one monk. Now you can think, 30 hours, minimum 30 hours per week. You are not allowed to disappear from the sight of the monk in a monastery. Almost you can say 10,000 hours. I was young, so obviously reacted. First training I reacted, second training also I reacted. 83, I think 83, 84 I completed the third one. And reaction almost reduced, but reaction was still there. How can you do it? How can you have a luxury to spend 50 hours a week training? But when I see now, I reflect on it. But one thing more before I talk about it. So I had 600 hours of training. You have spent 5 years with me, almost 600 hours. So you spent 600 hours in 5 years, which I did in 3 months. 3 hours per day. So 3 hours per day, almost 12 hours a month. So 60 hours, no, 12 hours a month, 140 or 144 hours a year. So take it 150. Yeah, almost 600 or 700 hours in 5 years. During the last 10 years, I recognized that importance because our mind has been dictated, controlled by the objective reality. And when you live with the master and you do the intensive training, you cannot go out of the sight of the monk. Where you have gone, sir, I have gone to the restroom. Okay, so now do this. So in the first training, we had 4 hours of practical and 4 hour, almost 3 to 4 hours of study of these texts. So maybe after 10 or 15 years, I realized the importance of intensive training. So that you are always talking in terms of the subjective reality. So your mind starts recognizing the subjective reality is different from the objective reality. The real self is different from the body, breath, mind, intellect, and ego. But in those days, I also reacted the way all young people reacted, and we thought that it was very difficult to continue it. How can I do it? I still remember, I remembered in the morning that one teacher was 6 feet 3 inches and I had an acute headache. He went into my room, it's a residential training. He went into the room. He asked me what happened. I said, I have a headache. He said, no, get rid of it. Start the practice. You will get rid of the headache. Virtually, he forced me. Here it is difficult to even touch anyone. There he took me by his hand and he said, no, you have to be in a class. You cannot get rid of it. So it was the $600. So now I realize that the more and more your mind recognizes there is another reality beyond the objective reality. And that is why the monastery life is also important. Now we have done 700 hours in 5 years. And 7 million impulsive desires during the 5 years. Why I said so? Your intellect has to be aware and alert that you bring your mind back to the subjective reality in any situation, in any event. That was the goal of my explaining you that I did the training. After that, I did many other trainings. So one master clearly says the intellect is like a muscle. It grows with the practice and transforms reactivity into a clarity. You have to apply this. So if intellect is a muscle, so discernment is a tool. Discernment. You have to apply that discernment again and again. You can apply the discernment, what is changing and what is not changing. Say, for example, you get upset with what you are listening to me at this time. Apply the discernment. Oh, it's just an hour. After an hour, this crazy guy will go. I will be free. Let us bear it. Ego comes. Oh, hold on. You did not have that point of ego just before a minute. Now you have it. Next moment you will not have it. Are you understanding? Intellect is a muscle. Discernment. So you pick up any rule of the discernment. What is changing and what is unchanging. What is real and what is false. But if you don't choose even after learning, then you create a self-made prison. You are boiling inside with your ego, with your anxiety, with your duality, with your conflict. Then there is no solution to it. Masters point out with a metaphor, you are the gold that never changes. You are not the ornaments. You are not the ring. You are not. Ring means in any event, any incident took place, you are reacting, you are into anxiety. No! So intellect helps me, intellect helps us, or you can simply say present moment, but I'm making it very clear. We say live in the present moment will not help you to understand clearly, though it has become a fashion phrase. I live in the present moment. You are angry, you live in the present moment, so you are angry. So we are saying that you ask the intellect to become aware of only one factor, whether real or unreal, whether changing or unchanging. At least you address ego, why you are upset, You have been upset millions of times. Still you want to be upset? Can you leave it? Can you drop it? That is very important. So this training, I realized when I did that intensive training of 600 hours for 3 months, 1000 hours for 6 months, 1 year with one monk. Now he just last year, perhaps last year, he died at the age of 99. So you are asking the intellect to work inside in every situation while performing your duties every day. Our goal is awakening. So, what happens? The effort in the beginning leads to effortlessness, and intellect dissolves. Intellect dissolves that delusion. It may take some time, but gradually you recognize the importance of it. Consistent learning, regular practice, that is what is the goal. That is why we have in monastery 4 year program, 5 year program, like this. So in 5 year program they pick up 10 texts and then they want you to study, contemplate, reflect, come and speak. Lot of. So even what difference it makes, the true self is the gold, thoughts, emotion and roles are the ornaments. Observe all your experiences as temporary, anchoring in the unchanging observer. Anchoring in the unchanging, some entity is there inside me. It is an observer. That is what modern people have started saying, it's a witness consciousness. We normally say. So there is a kind of separation in your level of in your awareness. You don't separate body physically, you separate in the field of your awareness. I believe you're getting. The moment you have a separation in the field of awareness with the body, how the ego can work? Ego becomes, helpless. So that is what we say, let the intellect dissolve. But if you think that you do lot of breathing practices, you are doing a headstand pose and it will help you dissolve, no, it is not possible. It will not help you dissolve that objective reality. Not at all. It is only understanding, it is knowledge. It is knowledge. I told you that there are many permutation and combinations that creates a monster of delusion. One set is past impression. Second is that you carried forward in this birth. Then you have a cultural, social, family conditioning. Then you have your body, physical well-being. How much is well? Then you have mind, intellect, and ego. Lord, eight factors, eight group of factors. And with that eight group of factors, you have millions of impressions in each. And then there is a permutation and combination. It means even when you are talking of these principles, any of these factors can cause you the ignorance. That is why constant, constant sincerity is required. I'm just giving you some very practical, pragmatic approach. Now ask yourself that can IQ get rid of these impressions or your discerning intellect? That is the question. It is the discerning intellect can help you. You have an impression of the ego and the reactivity. It is the discerning intellect can work. Can IQ work? Ask yourself. I'll not make any statement. You have to choose. You have to decide. So we don't equate the discerning intellect with IQ. IQ, the ability to gather information. You can solve complex problems and analyze the data. Yes, in business, use your IQ. But behind that, there is a discerning intellect. Discerning intellect in your behavior, in your attitude, in your action. And for business, for statistical analysis, IQ. IQ is required. So, once you start using the discerning intellect, you can recognize the self made prison. That I have created a prison to myself with that particular event, converted into an incident, had an element of ego because of the past impressions and because of my disagreement with that person. So I get rid of the self-made prison by contemplation and reflection. I gave an example of silkworm spinning a cocoon. It withdraws the thread from its own self and then it spreads with the false identity that is ego, and we can get rid of it, the discerning intellect. Or you can impress that I am the gold. Just say to yourself, I'm the gold, not these ring and necklace and other things, not the ornaments. These ornaments are thought, feeling, emotions, event, incident, etc. Discerning intellect must separate real from the unreal, and then you have that awareness constantly during the day, in every event. What is going to happen? It will bring a radical transformation in your life. So that is what our master says. It is a journey from the effort to effortlessness. It may take few weeks or a month, but you have to check few weeks and a month depending on, I told you, 3 months of training, I spent 6 hours. How much time you are aware during the day will help you to reach to that state. I have no other things to do. No, keep on doing everything. Apply your IQ outside, but live with the discerning intellect inside. So the intellect final job is to get out of the way. What that means? Pay attention at this time also. Intellect purifies when you question emotional falsehood but cannot fully grasp the non dual reality. For example, you have certain reaction against this guy, so you use that discerning intellect. Why you have a reaction? You are learning at this moment. Get rid of it. Mind, you calm down. Let me listen to it. Let me pay attention. Same thing you can apply to your honey in a real life situation. Intellect brings you to the destination, but pay attention, not IQ, discerning intellect. In this part of the world, we when we say intellect, so it is more or less it is the IQ. No, we are not talking of the IQ. So at least my intellect or your intellect or our intellect should be aware constantly that there is a consciousness is constantly persisting through all the states. I talk to you, I'm aware of that unchanging entity. I finished talking, I'm still aware of it. I went to grab a cup of coffee, I'm still aware of it. It is the discerning intellect. I have to live into that. If your goal is awakening, if it is not, then okay, then I have learnt a lot, now no more learning. No more learning. So now see what happens, what I said just now. Consciousness is constantly persisting through all the states while activities and the work of your personal, professional, social life continues. Let it continue. Then I recognize ignorance is causing this suffering. It is the misidentification with the transient, temporary events created by body, breath, mind, intellect, ego, thought, feeling, emotions, past impressions. Liberation or awakening is a recognition. Freedom comes from realizing what is always present. That is another problem in our mind. Mind says, I will produce that awakening, and you know, it is already present. I have to recognize that. Who can recognize? The discerning intellect can recognize it. That is why this master says you need not to practice, even though he has given 25 practices in another chapter that we will talk, but these practices are just contemplation and reflection. The silent acronym I created out of one of the 25 principles he laid down for the practice. How long and how deeply I understand or my intellect recognizes in all the situation, consciousness is like the sky, unchanging, while clouds are different actions that today I wake up, I have to do this Saturday session, then I have another session, I'll be free after that. And then I have to do other work. But they are changing. They have a starting point, they have a finishing point. So they are not my nature. They cannot be my nature. So when you recognize they cannot be your nature, you simply let the intellect recognize inside. Ego. How long I can have the ego? After a few days, that ego dissolves, and I say, no, I should not have said this. I should have thought otherwise. Did it not happen to you? Think. So the moment, again, I'm coming to the intellect, discerning intellect is a point of awareness, and that in discerning intellect recognizes the awareness. Here is changing, here is no change. How can I recognize? I am not changing was present at the time of starting the session until now. What changes? The thought, feeling, expression, words, language. But that if I stop speaking, I am, and I know it is still present. I know I am is always present whether I conduct a class or whether not, whether I speak or whether I don't speak. I know I am. It is here and now. We need that level of awareness. Again, I'm going back to remind you those 600 hours for 3 months and 1,000 hours of 6 months and 10,000 hours of 1 year. helped me realize that yes, it is worth a training. But then what I said, should you go for it? No, you can introduce yourself in your life. You are living a personal life. Live into behind that. You just even by thought, by feeling, by emotion, and you see what happens. Why? You are going to replace that ego in the past impressions. You wake up in the morning and you had a fight yesterday with your honey, and today you wake up, your mind, mood takes over. That area can be cleaned when you keep that discerning intellect. Oh, what I did, it's the craziest, leave it. You can do that 600 hours or 10,000 hours. So, what happens? You can identify ignorance. You can now consciously recognize what is ignorance. Do you remember what metaphor our master gave? Rope and the snake. In a dim light means in ignorance, you misidentify, there is a misperception. Why there is a misperception? Because discerning intellect is not there. So I recognize in a dim light dawn or a dusk that the rope appears as a snake. Does the snake exist? No. So I need not to make any effort. Does the ego, negative ego exist? Unripe ego? No. When you identify that ignorance, the snake is gone. That I have to live every day. Every day. Do I have to? Yes. I would say last week until today, there was not a single event in my head of reaction. A week before that, yes, it had, because mind is impulsive. Mind is impulsive. But it took the next second to dissolve it. That is the goal. But if it continues, it is already creating millions of impressions, and then you are caught into it. You are caught into it. You are controlled by the. Again, talking the subtler topic. I have to live into that state. That is the you think of it. Whether one person, two person, 5%, doesn't make any difference. Teacher, my master used to say, no, I can teach even a single person. So you think of that, think, practice discernment, 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 discernment. Apply that discernment. So what is going to happen? We talk of the river that you cannot step into the same river again. But the essence of the river continues to exist. That essence we are, and that essence is consciousness. That essence we have to understand. That essence is Sat Chitanand. But I'm just giving you. Oh, I continues to exist. I had a moment of anxiety. I had a moment of pleasure. I had a moment of ego. I had a moment. So now, if I change that moment of anxiety, reaction in the ego, which is on the surface level outside, then the real self starts manifesting outside in our daily activities. That is the goal we have to keep in our mind. Think again. I'm repeating in a different way. While all activities, whether anxiety or stress or marriage or divorce or pleasure or pain, have a definite starting and ending point. Consciousness itself remains constant and uninterrupted throughout all states. It remains in the waking, it remains in the dreaming, it remains in the deep sleep. We are talking of the monster of delusion. So, suffering arises from ignorance, not knowing my true nature. What should I do? So, let the intellect remind me that I am of the nature of real self. I am none of these activities. It has a starting point that I have to do it, and it has a finishing point. Let me do it. It has a starting point, this session, starting point and finishing point. So let me do it. But inside, can I see that separation? And if I see the separation, I can bet you will find it is something extraordinary. Your life will be extraordinary. That understanding demands intellectual discernment through the false assumption are progressively dissolved. Can it happen in a day? No. Can you subject your mind to that kind of a discernment training? Yes. I don't have a time, don't say. You have 24. The moment you are in a waking state, you can apply the discernment. In the awakening, you cannot remember. Whenever you remember, you do it. That is how I told you 600 hours, 10,000 hours, and 1,000 hours of training helped me. Because you are constantly doing the same thing, and you live into the higher awareness. You live into the higher awareness. So it is an experiential continuity. It is you see experiential continuity. That is the meaning of living in the present moment. Why I give lessons? I enjoy that state. Oh, let it continue. This gives me an opportunity, whether that state continues or not. You've already seen in these 5-6 years. People have come, people have gone. People have reacted, people have. So, in another way, that is what we did the poise method couple of times, where you can distinguish, you can apply the discerning intellect again, observer and observed distinction. When you apply the observer and observed distinction, observed body, breath, mind, speech, larynx, everything that comes under the category of observed. So our masters have made it very simple. Whatever I know, I experience is not me. Again, a separation inside. This helps your mind to rest. The moment you are observed is separate from the observer, it helps your mind to rest and you live into the higher awareness. That observer consciousness observes thoughts, emotions, physical sensations, life events, yet remains separate from and untouched by them. That changes the mind and intellect. That brings a transformation of mind and intellect. Why I said so? Conscious does not change. It is as it is. The clouds have passed because transformation in the mind has taken place. So the clouds have gone, and now I can reflect on it. Consciousness does not change. Let us pay attention to that. Let us assume if consciousness changes, means there are multiple consciousnesses. Clear? It would require something more fundamental to know or unify these changes. If the consciousness changes, it is observed, and if it is observed, then there must be an observer about it. So there must be some more fundamental. Why? Why? The unchanging must be singular. And if it is singular, then it is only the pure consciousness. If it is two, then both are changing. If it is one, then it is all pervading. So we say, if it is one, then it is all pervading. We discussed briefly last week about modern scientific understanding shows matter is fundamentally quantum energy, not solid objects. So it is fundamentally a quantum energy. So we see it is one. Similarly, the teaching suggests that consciousness is the ultimate substratum. And then we can abide into that consciousness. But the quantum energy does not contain the happiness, it has to be conscious. That is the biggest difference, our biggest understanding. Then I can directly experience that real self of the nature of absolute existence, consciousness, bliss. I can consciously experience it is of the nature of happiness, permanent happiness. Quantum energy cannot give you that. It has to be a conscious entity. It is not found in external things but in recognizing one's true nature. Outward seeking leads to suffering. We already know it clearly. Pleasure, pain, pleasure, pain. I went to the restaurant to eat the pasta. Now I have a craving for the pasta. That is also a pain. So any pleasure turns into a pain, and every pain, they are both, they are this same coin with the two sides. And then how we recognize the projection. And when I enter into that projection, my mind is deluded. When my mind is deluded, I find IQ to work on it, and IQ does not discern between what is real and unreal. Ignorance takes the root, and I continue to suffer. It takes a fraction of a millisecond to change your state. And I told you millions of permutation and combination. That is why we have 15 chapters to get rid of all the permutation and combination of ignorance, delusion, anxiety, reaction. In today's session, I want to stress upon the discerning intellect and the IQ. Why? Because other verses Master speaks of contains very deep understanding of the discerning intellect. So you see the discernment, seeking happiness outside is like drinking salty water. It only increases the thirst. Observe where you look for fulfillment. Discerning intellect can look for it. Objects, relationship, achievements. Outward seeking leads to temporary satisfaction. Think of this. In any situation, So I live in ignorance. So that ignorance and my past impressions or habits make me forget my true nature. That is why I'm searching outside. So I have to apply the discerning intellect. So when I apply the discerning intellect, I find, oh, this is happening. So then you have a bigger smile even when you have an anxiety. Anxiety drops. I told you this young guy who is in his 40s, he said, I'm very much scared because I'm rich. So I said, don't be more rich. When you are filing the tax this year, an extra income, you transfer it to me. Because if you become more rich, so you will be more scared. But don't you see deeper inside? Don't you see? Can you just make it? If you have more wealth, don't you have some kind of a sense of insecurity? You don't have it. You already have insecurity. Think. Ignorance. So any movement of the mind that projects outside, I have to apply the discernment. True joy is found by turning your intellect inside, not by seeking outside. We have to practice contemplation and reflection, contemplation and reflection. Mind makes me forget that real self is not always present. I have to apply the discerning intellect to remind that this real self is always present. When the real self is always present, then you may have a moment of ego. But the moment discerning intellect recognizes, it will dissolve by itself. I'm not saying that you don't have a ripe ego. I made it very clear. Ripe ego is constant, otherwise I cannot give a class. Well, that ego is just present here in a session. It is present. Starting point, finishing point, ego is gone. But anything that haunts you constantly with a reaction, with an anxiety, we are talking of that ego. You get rid of it by discerning intellect. You need not to do it. Even if you think of anger management or anxiety management, you need not to have the management. It is gone. That is the meaning of living in a moment. Awakening is not an achievement. Not an achievement. It is a recognition of what always is. At any moment in your life, let go of the seeking and rest in awareness of the self, and you are there. So that we have to. Again, I'm saying, if we have to apply these principles from this text, I'm reminding you 600 hours, 1,000 hours, and 10,000 hours. Means every time, every moment, I have to live into that discerning intellect. With that discerning intellect, you can apply your IQ in your business, in your profession, in your society, in a family. I have to apply IQ if I have to come to your house. Let me know your address. It's a linear movement, you see? It's a linear movement. Address, map, GPS, start driving, linear. behind that, behind that I am present. And that I am did not change. Did the I am when I started traveling to your house change until I reached to your home? That I am, I know it, never changes. You see, in every situation. So if something changes, and you feel you have changed, you have reacted, you have anger, you have hesitation, it is a problem we have to solve. by applying the discerning intellect, by using these metaphor, hammer these metaphor on your mind. I'm the goal, not I'm not the way. Again and again. Even when you are suffering from a disease of unripe ego, I will teach him. No, no, no. What you are doing, you start addressing that, and it will happen. It comes very fast when you do the 600 hours. Again, I'm saying, because intensively, you have nothing to do except this either principle or practice of meditation. 50 hours per week. But anyhow, I tell you, Samir and Dennis, Americans are very hardworking. Sometimes they work for 60 hours per week also. But hardworking in other aspects, not hardworking in this aspect. I read last year in the Pew Research also, even the people say that which country is the most hardworking? It's Americans. But this is enjoying applying the discerning intellect. You are enjoying all the time. Why? From the background, you start experiencing that real self is of the nature of bliss. And you have no fear because you start recognizing that there is something permanent entity is there, which is of the nature of happiness, which never gets disturbed, which never gets agitated. In the light of that, our mind changes. But when we have a light of what is changing, that is unripe ego, well, that is ignorance. It causes the suffering. And then we have to recognize, mind, what you are seeking, how you are identifying with anything outside. And the more and more you contemplate, reflect, you can get rid of it. The self is always the bliss, like the sun always present behind the clouds. Now you can easily understand discerning intellect by reflect on moments when desire ceased and peace was present. The self is not affected by the external circumstances. This is how we have to change our lifestyle from inside. If we don't change that lifestyle from inside, then it is not. Let me use a couple of statements to think. Suffering begins the journey. That is another way to it. I woke up in the morning around 3:40 and then I felt, oh, body did not. I didn't feel that relaxation in the body. So I said, okay, half an hour of deep, silent, and slow breathing. I did it for half an hour. That fatigue is gone. But behind that practice, observer and observed. Now I've been practicing for so observer became separate. On one hand, IQ is applied, deep silence, slow breathing to relax the body, and at the same time, observer is there. Witness consciousness. You are in the state of mindfulness. Or you simply ask the question, why I'm not happy? Why I feel tired? So maybe because of the past impression, identification with the body. That is the basic reason. Other problems are secondary problems. If you go to the doctor, You have other physical or mental illnesses. That is secondary. But primary is ignorance, identification. External seeking is seems to be natural for the mind. The mind projects the fulfillment onto the world. I have to search what I'm, how I want to be get identified. You should say that I'm rich. Look at this guy who says that I feel scared, and many people feel that they should identify themselves as being the rich in the society. See, look at it. uh, look at it. So, what is the connection? Suffering and dissatisfaction. Suffering and dissatisfaction has to do with your unripe ego. Unripe ego has to do with some projection outside. Projection outside means that you are a part of the changing world. The moment you recognize you are a part of the changing world, nobody can get you rid of any suffering. Any suffering, no ish, no way. The last word I say, abide in the self. Discerning intellect, it helps you to abide in the self, to abide in the self, to abide in the self. Intellectually, I understand. By IQ, I understand that there is a real self and there is a false I. But how to abide in self, I have to apply the discerning intellect. That is the summary today. Yes, anything, now come to the discussion part. Whatever you want to share. Let the Dennis start sharing first.
Some thoughts on your statement that intellect is a muscle and discernment is a tool. Usually, we have many different tools for different purposes, but I think that discernment is a universal tool that can be applied to any problem, any event or situation to distinguish real from unreal. And intellect is the muscle that can use this tool of discernment. And like a physical muscle, we can train the muscle of our intellect by consistent practice, by contemplation and reflection, so that when the time comes, intellect is ready to apply the discernment. Uh, Without such training, the intellect may be able to uh, apply discernment when the outer circumstances are favorable, but it will fail in critical moments of life when impulsive mind takes over, because impulsive mind has been trained through millions of years of evolution of our ancestors, whose main goal was physical survival. So naturally, the impulsive mind is much stronger, and its goal is protect the body, protect the mind and ego at any cost, even if there is no threat to body and the mind. So yes, intellect can be trained and should be trained again and again to become stronger and to be able to use discernment instead of instincts and reactions of the default mind.
Beautifully, you have summarized. Everything is self explanatory. I need not to add anything. It is muscle, I have to train this. I'm looking at you. And the mind, are you projecting any kind of a pleasure to any individual with their color, with their age, with their talking, with their thought, with their speech, with their action? No. Do you want to live into the state of discernment? Yes, you are already happy. I'm living, I'm taking you This is how my master used, in such a simple way, he used to explain that. Remarkable presence. Beautiful. How are you, David and Jerry?
Thank you, thank you, Dennis. That was very, very good summary. The muscle is interesting. It's like an athlete training for the Olympics. And when we look at that in our life in context of our 600 hours that we've spent here together, or 700, whatever it is, I look at that and go, there's, I think, 60 or 70,000 hours in a year. How much time is being spent with attachment, delusion,
Yes.
that type of stuff. And if we can eliminate that, look how much more time we have to practice. As Malcolm Gladwell says, 10,000 hours is what you need to become an expert at something. So that's the journey.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes. He's a Canadian author.
Yes, that's why I like him.
Yeah. He's a Canadian author. No identification. He is just an individual. So yes, he talked about it, and that we have understood it thousands and thousands of years ago. Yes, Jerry.
Thank you, sir. I loved Dennis's summary. It was great. Thank you. This lesson, it just goes back to that hammering, and I really appreciated your background and that militant kind of learning that took place because it was something that you weren't allowed really to not hammer the mind. You had to hammer the mind for those years, and they didn't allow you not to. And so that discernment, that tool, if we let it sit on our shoulder, it can hammer our mind every day, all day long. It was interesting. On Thursday, I drive David to work, and I said, so what'd you think of the lesson, and how are you going to apply it today? And then he just kind of spit out a few words from the lesson. I said, but no, how are you going to apply it today?
Yeah.
And I think it's so helpful at the end of our day and during the day, all day long. And he asked me the same thing, how are you going to apply it? And I said, because I really believe I am, and I know it. But I also apply it all day long. I don't believe I am and I know it and I just forget about it. I apply it all day long. And I see where sometimes I get triggered,
Yes.
But it doesn't happen very often.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
We have a reduction of anxiety, reduction of duality, reduction of reaction, reduction of decrease in the movement of the undrive ego, and then you see, throughout the week, throughout the day, it passes. So you need not to worry about your fear. There is no fear of death. There is no fear of losing money or getting the money the whole day. Why? Because the mind was absorbed into something that is unchanging. That leads us to the point of awakening. And yes, another point that you both are doing very good. You both have to knock each other how you are going to apply. That is the main thing. How you are going to apply. Did you apply? Yes, when you apply, then still you have a reaction and anxiety. It doesn't work. It means we have done some mistake. Some ignorance is there, some delusion is there. We have to get rid of it. Beautifully, wonderful. How are you, Samir?
Sir, today you focused a lot on giving time to Eastern wisdom. That how much time we are giving to Eastern wisdom. Sir, one word is there like dream comes true. 10 years back or 8 years back, I used to dream of the situation, in the situation which I am in today. I never thought that I will be in this situation or it is possible for me to reach to this condition which I am today. So I kept on giving time to Eastern wisdom without, you just pushed me every time that give time to Eastern wisdom, give time to Eastern wisdom. And I kept on, sometimes I used to understand, sometimes I didn't used to understand, sometimes I used to become angry on you that nothing is happening and you are telling me to do. So I kept on pushing and giving time to Eastern wisdom. And today I have so much confidence on Eastern wisdom just because what I was dreaming of, I have achieved it today. And so I think that there is no limit to this. If I keep on doing, keep on doing, keep on doing, then definitely means whatever for what I am here, what for what I have taken birth on in this life, I will definitely achieve to that thing. This is my
yes. It's a great takeaway. I don't want to explain each and every aspect of Samir, but now the Samir is expressing the way he is expressing, and he is coming with a clarity. He was not able to express anything in a public, not at all. Those were the days, not at all. So the key is, again, I'm telling you that anyone can go against me, but don't go against the Eastern wisdom. Learn it, apply it, learn it, apply it, learn it, apply it. Gradually, all those permutation and combinations of ignorance, duality, anxiety, reaction starts falling apart. And then we realize, oh, this is what our masters are talking about. Beautifully said. Thank you. Thank you, Samir, that you are doing good. How are you, Terry?
Well, I was contemplating about why happiness is the nature of the real self, and I was wondering if it's the absence of the temporary incident that feels like happiness. And that's what
Yes. What is changing? What is temporary? What is changing? What is temporary is a part of that unreal, and happiness is always there. However, what changes clouds over the unchanging. That is what I gave the metaphor. The clouds covers the sun does not mean any damage to the sun. I live in ignorance does not mean that the real self has been destroyed. It is still present. So if it is still present and I don't find it today, I'll find it tomorrow. That is why I picked up 600 hours, 1,000 hours, 10,000 hours. I did a lot of training until I reached to a point that I said, no, now I got it. That is all, my friends. Thank you very much. We'll meet again.
Thank you.